Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for this latest Spotlight session and Women in Operations at Severn Trent. So I'm delighted that I'm joined by colleagues who will be sharing their experiences, and you can use this material to help you in your careers research before considering the right options and right programs that you'll be looking to apply to for our programs this year. So let's move on. And this is the agenda that we're going to be going through today. So there is just a short intro into Severn Trent as an organisation, who we are, talk about our purpose, which is hugely important to us, and values, which I hope are also important to you, and you'll see yourselves in those that we share with you. We're going to talk about our graduate and undergraduate programmes that we have within the sort of operational world and STEM world today, and then after that, I'm going to hand you over to colleagues Laura, who's a catchment scientist, and Alicia, who has completed our business leadership program that comes from a STEM background. So there's lots to hear from them and their experiences to date and what they do. Following that, we'll quickly talk through our application process and run through the key dates, those all important key dates that you'll need to make a note of before applications close, and then we go through assessments and then into sort of hopefully joining dates later on in the year. And then towards the end, there is a short Q&A session. So for those of you that are viewing this via the website, we'll talk through some of those questions that we'll receive by individuals in writing that they'll share with us. And then we'll close in around 50 minutes time. So let's talk about who we are as an organisation. So Severn Trent are a regulated water and wastewater business, so a huge geographical area that we look after. So you can see in front of you there is a map which includes from the southwest towards Gloucestershire, River Severn, and then towards the northeast, towards North Lincolnshire and Scunthorpe. That part of our area is the sort of Trent area of Severn Trent, and then everything in between. So you're looking at West Midlands across to East Midlands, and also there's a part of Mid and North Wales, which is Severn D or Havant Dyfrdwy in Welsh. So we look after the good stuff and making sure that that reaches over 8 million customers in our region, and then taking away the wastewater and recycling that and putting it through the relevant processes to be able to then put back into our rivers. So that's on the left-hand side, some big numbers there that you can see. On the right-hand side is other areas of the Severn Trent organisation, which are referred to as in business services. So within business services, there's different areas, including bioresources, green power, Operating Services UK, which are also now known as Severn Trent Services, and developer services as well. So in terms of total of employees, we are approaching the 7,000 mark to make sure that our customers, households, businesses all receive that clean water that we all need. And there's some big numbers there as well in terms of the wastewater especially, which we'll probably come on to a little bit later. Bioresources, the byproduct of waste is of commercial value, and we work with the agricultural industry. Green power, renewable energy is hugely important at Severn Trent, and through green power and the food waste plants and anaerobic digestion processes enable us to create energy that operate our own assets. And then Severn Trent Services have commercial contracts with organisations providing water and wastewater hygiene services across the entire UK. And developer services are where those new connections are, or new builds, and separate sort of part of the business as well. And they will operate both inside and outside the Severn Trent region too. So our values as a business, so our purpose as an organisation, first of all, is taking care of one of life's essentials. It's quite a simple purpose, but it is one that is truly one that rings true to all of us, based on water being such an essential sort of part of our everyday lives. Now the splashes around the outside are our values, and internally our people from across all roles, all different levels of the business, will be demonstrating and living and breathing these every single day in the role that they do. So embracing curiosity, we're always looking to continuously improve, and I hope that that's where you see yourselves by the offering of early careers programs and the development within those. So with what we do, we always look to improve through innovation and being able to do things safer, better, faster, and to get the outcome in a in a sort of better way than what we have done previously. So continuously improving both individually and within teams, taking pride. I kind of alluded to that already with our purpose, but employees at Severn Trent are very, very proud of what they do. You'll find over 98% of employees are also customers within the Severn Trent region. But with what we do, there is a huge amount of pride that we have, especially with support we provide to our communities. Showing care, therefore, we show care internally to our team members and colleagues, and we also show care to our customers as well, making sure they have a positive experience, and then having courage. So again, it's linked back to our early careers programs, new talent programs that we have, be it apprentice, undergraduate or graduate, because there are going to be times in which you are certainly developing new skills, and sometimes that makes us feel as though we're going out of our comfort zone a little bit, and that's absolutely fine. That's a good energy that we like to have to be able to sort of get to where we need to be, both as individually and as a business as well. Going to touch on the environment. So we're in a good place today on this session with the people that we have on board sharing experiences, because I know that environment is going to come out in what they share with us. But there's some headlines on here that you can see that we're working to improve our environment, to interact with the environment around us every single day. It is our sort of part of our supply chain with what we do and what we provide our customers. But the numbers that you can see in front of you there are just some of the projects that are ongoing at Severn Trent to improve the environment is around us. So biodiversity and the amount of land that we're sort of looking to improve diversity in by 2027, halving pollutions by 2030, and then renewable energy and becoming net carbon zero, hugely important as an organisation, hugely important to all of us, the environment that we live in. And there's different ways in which we're sort of approaching that, but it's way ahead of government targets by 2050. And then in recent months of the sort of at the end of the pandemic, as we come out of the pandemic, Severn Trent has been awarded by the regulator sums of money to enable us to support communities with different projects, through replacing of old pipes, through to improving river quality, through to smart metering, to making sure that customers are getting the sort of best possible experience with our products as they can. Social, I've mentioned communities a couple of times, and we have a purpose, but we also have a social purpose as well, and that is supporting the communities in which we serve. So those 8 million people that are living within that area of land that I showed earlier, and households within that, making sure that Severn Trent are playing their part in our local communities, or our part in our local communities. So that sort of looks in various different ways. So if we start in the top right hand corner there, you can see that we've sort of invested £10 million in a purpose-built academy. So the academy, I suppose the benefits to our communities are that through world-class, through best-in-class training that our own people provide, it's an assurance for our customers that people out in the field, people going about their day-to-day tasks, be it on-site, whether water treatment plant, wastewater, be it out in communities, with the work that our sort of field technicians do, that are doing the very best that they can. So it's an assurance to our communities there. Volunteering as employees, those 7,000 people all have the opportunity to actually put something back within the communities in which we work, supporting local charities. And there's community engagement as well, with helping customers that may be struggling to be able to pay their bills. So there's different registers that are set up and sort of routes to be able to support people that need it most. That's massively important. And then the charities as well that we work with, 1% of all Severn Trent profits go into a community fund in which those charities are able to apply for support and with funds being awarded across all different parts of the region. That plays its part in supporting our communities. And then finally, inclusion, equality and diversity is hugely important for Severn Trent, and being able to come to work and be the very real you, being the very best that you can, but no matter who you are, what your background, then you are able to sort of be your true self and get the support to be able to go about and do your work safely and the very best that you can. Okay, So we're here to talk about women in operations today. So let's kind of link those values back to STEM careers. So water, first of all, and then if we think about the processes in what we do, so from collection of water, the different ways in which we do that, to treating that water and putting it through different processes, distributing it across our network, collecting that water and then putting it back through processes before putting it out to the environment. Science, technology, engineering, mathematical mindsets are required for all of those different processes end to end in Severn Trent and what Severn Trent does as a business. So innovation is hugely important to us as well, with those continuous improvements, looking at our assets and being able to identify ways in which we can do things better. Having a STEM, sort of coming from a STEM subject, an interest in science, technology, engineering, hugely important. And also as well, if you're somebody that is watching this and you want to play your part in not only the community, but from an environmental sustainability standpoint as well, then we offer lots of different routes in which you're able to thrive within these different areas and support what we do. So very quickly, our 5-year plan. So our 5-year plan, as a water and wastewater company, we report into the regulator, and the regulator we work with, setting out targets over a 5-year period. So we're right in the middle of what we refer to as AMP7. So AMP7 is Asset Management Period 7, and it's between 2020 and 2025. And there's just a few highlights on there of the kind of commitments that we're making, supporting our communities. So helping those that need it most, I've referred to, improving that service, and there's all different measures that we have that we need to sort of are accountable for and need to report on to demonstrate to the regulator that customers are seeing an improved service, through to improving the environment and then giving back to communities. Some of the things that I've spoken about. So there's lots of information that can help you in your research about the role that water companies will play within their communities, but also are accountable to a regulator that looks after the interests of consumers. So there's different ways in which you can learn more online through different water companies and also the regulator as well. Just very briefly, there is a large global event taking place in summer 2022 in Birmingham, which is the Commonwealth Games. Severn Trent are very, very proud to be the official nature and carbon neutral supporter of this. We have people that are working or been seconded out to the organising committee for some time, using their specialist knowledge in the areas of sustainability, renewables, project management, to be able to make sure that this is, you know, the most sustainable games that there has ever been. So different ways in which we can also support schools, colleges, local communities, and promoting water efficiency and biodiversity. So it's hugely important to us, and playing our sort of part in the success of that. The Academy, I mentioned it earlier. You might hear about that from both Alicia and Laura with some of the training that they may have completed, but we've got different work streams. It is a huge investment that we've made in our own people, and particularly proud of the facilities that allow us to include our own syllabus for training across different learning streams. And it also sees some of our apprentices. We are a training provider for some of our operational apprentices, which is fantastic, you know, to get that approval through Ofsted, etc., and go through what we need to become that. So not only are we supporting development of our own people, but that allows us to support some of the smaller water companies across the UK with the learning that some of their people may need. From a graduate standpoint, this slide is being shown just to demonstrate that even if you are, or say even, you could be completing a technical or going into a very technical area of the business on a day-to-day basis with the role, the program that you go into, be it process engineering, design engineering, program delivery as well. But you will also get additional core module training that allows you to develop skills that are going to support the sort of technical competence that you develop over time. And that's hugely important as you sort of progress through your career to become, hopefully, you know, or potential future leaders. So it's not just the technical knowledge that you will sort of gain, it's those softer skills and exposure to different learning that's going to enable you to sort of develop your own skill set to take you on a successful career. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Laura, who will no doubt introduce herself, her background, and then more about her role. So Laura, I'm going to go on to mute and it's over to you.
Thank you, Darren. Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Flower and I'm a senior catchment management scientist within the water quality and environment team, and that is within the operations area of Severn Trent. And I've been at Severn Trent for 6 years, and I've been in this role for all of that time. In the last 2 years, I was promoted to senior level. And before I came to Severn Trent, I worked at United Utilities for another 6 years there as well, and moved around a little bit within that business, because one of the great things about working in a water company is the opportunities to move around, try different roles and learn about all the different areas of the business, which is a great part of the graduate scheme as well. And I did my undergraduate in a science degree. So I studied environmental science at Lancaster University, and then I went on to do a master's in water management at Cranfield University. So yeah, I've got a scientific background. I've also got an agricultural background, having been brought up on a dairy farm. So I wanted to continue in the scientific area and also bring in some of that agricultural background as well. So this role is perfect, and I really, really love my job and working at Severn Trent. And I can tell you a bit more about what I do in my role as well. So in catchment management, what my role is focusing on is improving water quality in our drinking water catchments, where we abstract for treatment and supply to customers. And we focus on improving that water quality because we found that investing in catchment management, for every £1 spent in catchment management saves between £2 and £20 in treatment costs. So it's an overall more cost beneficial, sustainable solution to improve that water quality at the source, rather than building expensive carbon heavy treatment processes. So that's what our team focuses on. And we mostly focus on working with farmers, and we run a number of different schemes under our Farming for Water banner. And we have our STEPS grant scheme for farmers and Farm to Tap scheme as well, which focuses on pesticide usage. Another area of my role is doing drinking water safety plans and risk assessments, so that we know what the risk is of the catchments to our treatment works. And as Darren talked about before, the environment is a really core area of Severn Trent, and the area around biodiversity improvements is something that our team works on as well. So I lead on a partnership that we have with Moors for the Future, which is focusing on moorland restoration in the Upper Derwent catchment, and that is going to improve water quality, reducing the colour and turbidity that runs off from our catchments, and makes treating the water easier. And we're also doing a lot of tree planting in that catchment, planting in the clough woodlands. So that contributes towards our tree planting target, as well as helping improve water quality, reducing the runoff risks. And some other areas that are really great at Severn Trent to get involved in is that we have volunteering days. So 2 volunteering days per year for all members of staff. And something that I've been involved with this year is towards the Commonwealth Games Tiny Forests. And I've been helping plant trees in the Birmingham area in one of the parks. So that was a really great day with members of the public and other members of Severn Trent, and contributing towards the carbon offset of the Commonwealth Games. And I've also helped, in that picture at the bottom, is with my colleagues helping improve the environment in one of our visitor sites at Draycott as well. So that's another volunteering day I've done this year. And as well as volunteering, there's also loads of opportunities for continuing your personal development and learning within Severn Trent. So an area of that I've done is got my chartership in the Chartered Institute of Water and Environment Management. So that's been supported through an excellent scheme that Severn Trent's got internally to support our science and water management experts to become chartered, and also funding that for us as well. So I was successful in getting my chartership last year, and now I'm helping mentor others to get their own chartership as well as part of that scheme that we've got internally. And as well as there's lots of other learning and development opportunities through the academy to help us with our continued personal development. So that's another really great reason for working for Severn Trent. And I think that's everything that I was going to cover. So yeah, that's it for me.
That's great, Laura. Thank you. Just wanted to ask a question, actually, if it's okay,
Yep.
just about the Chartered Institute Water Environment Management. What sort of time do you have to commit to that alongside the work that you do? How does that process work? So I'm sure that kind of offer would be of interest to people to think about long term.
Yeah, definitely. If you're just starting out in your career, it's more of thinking long term, but it's never too early to get your mentor. So as soon as you start in your graduate role, you can get a mentor who can then support you to get all of those competencies that you still need to get experience of in the business, and they'll help you find those as well. So it might be a few years before you have got all of those competencies required. Yeah, but for me, because I had already got 10 years experience, and I just put a little bit of time aside each month to fill in all of the paperwork that I needed. It took me about a year to get everything together and submit it.
I take it from a learning or a sort of continual learning perspective that the Institute sort of provide those resources. So alongside the Severn Trent learning of day-to-day sort of work and projects, then you're getting an industry sort of specific kind of message with what's provided to you from that group.
Yeah, definitely. There's monthly magazines, and there's loads of different webinars, and there's regional groups as well that meet up when we're not in a pandemic. They meet up, and so there's really great networking for people from other businesses that work in the environment industry.
Fantastic. And just in case there are people watching this that might not know where Derwent Water is.
Yes. So that's the River Derwent feeds into the River Trent. Up in the Peak District is where the source is, and then it comes down through Derbyshire, through Derby into River Trent. Brilliant. So whereabouts we've been doing our wall and restoration is right in the top of the headwaters in the Peak District.
So I think, although we might not have a direct sort of program, a graduate program directly into becoming a senior catchment management, I suppose to within your role as such, yeah. Then coming from a scientific background and going into a program like the business leadership program and getting experience through that route is certainly an option.
Yeah, definitely. Getting experience in different areas of the business will really help
So I think what I'm hearing from you there is kind of, with the career spans quite a long period of time. There's lots of learning. So, getting that business knowledge grounded with a program like Business Leadership Program, if you want to go into something that is relevant in this world, then if there's not a directory route for you from the moment that you're leaving university, there are other ways that you can get into that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time
this
afternoon. So I'm now going to introduce Alicia, who has recently completed, time moves on very quickly, but completed our business leadership program. So over to you, Alicia. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Alicia Fleming. I'm currently the new talent program lead at Severn Trent, but I joined Severn Trent in 2018, which has gone really quickly now, after completing a biological science degree at the University of Leeds. So I come from a STEM background, but I chose to join the business leadership program. And that was because when I left university, like many people, I wasn't really sure where I saw my career going. I knew that I had an interest in sort of STEM subjects, but I didn't really want to do a lab-based role. So I thought I'd come and join the business leadership program and get a wide range of experiences and then sort of see where that took me. So on the business leadership program, there's 4 sort of key pillars of development. So That's in areas such as project, commercial areas of the business, operational areas, and project management areas as well, and customers. So making sure that with everything we do, we focus on customers at the heart of it. So throughout my placement, I had a lot of different roles, and they were all STEM based to some extent. And I think you'll find that with a lot of roles at Severn Trent, there is that sort of STEM mindset behind them, and it can be really applicable to any role in the company. So my first role was as a senior technician in water treatment. So I worked at Franklin Water Treatment Works, which is the largest water treatment works in the company and in the country. So in that role, I was responsible for updating our standards and ensuring that standard compliance was being met. I did a lot of auditing of our chemical procedures and operational procedures with the site operators. And I developed quite a lot of technical knowledge in water treatment in that role. So that was quite science engineering focused, and gave me a real insight into what exactly it is we do at Severn Trent and how important it is that we get our processes right at the source of the water. So my second placement then, so these are all 9-month placements, just to let you know. So my second placement was as a project manager, and I worked on water transformation projects. So that involved managing multiple projects through different stages of the project life cycle. And one of those was sort of a cultural engagement project, and one was a more commercial project looking at reducing water losses on our water treatment works and through process efficiency. So again, quite STEM linked in terms of the projects I was working on, but still developing sort of those core business skills that are really essential on the business leadership programme. And in that role as well, I got involved with our group transformation engagement team, and that was really fun, and it just brought a different aspect to the role as well. So not only do you get the opportunity to sort of develop your technical knowledge and your professional development, you get that opportunity to develop personally as well and engage with different teams. So that was really great. And then my final placement was as a sustainability specialist, and that was in investor relations, but kind of a role that spans the whole company. And really central to that is sort of our environmental ambitions. So as part of that role, I was managing the update of the climate change adaptation report, and I was working with other climate related frameworks such as the TCFD, which is the climate related financial disclosure framework, which is quite new when I was working on it, and working with some really senior stakeholders in that role as well. So writing papers for board level, working with our steering committees to sort of bring our sustainability ambitions to life and how we can sort of develop that across the company. So loved that role. It was really fast paced and lots of variety. And I got a really good understanding of sort of the commercial aspects of the business, but also how that links to our purpose and values and our environmental ambitions. So that was my grad scheme in a nutshell. And then following that, I moved into a STEM focused role. So I was a treatment process scientist in our treatment process hub, and I was looking after water treatment processes. So looking for proactive improvements that we could make to our water treatment processes across all of our sites, to make sure that we're working as efficiently and as effectively as possible, and trying to really interrogate what we see going on in the data and how we can provide more insight for that for the business. So I did that role for a year, and then I've recently moved over on a secondment to the new talent team as the graduate programme manager. So really using that insight, I guess, that I gained from the programme to help develop our new talent. So really exciting role, and I feel, you know, I've got a lot to bring to that as well. So yeah, so I guess as a summary, STEM has been a real focus throughout my whole graduate programme, despite it being a business leadership programme. But I think that's just central to what we do as a business at Severn Trent. And I think in whatever role you're in, there's always opportunity to use that sort of STEM growth mindset. So, yeah, I think that's me, Darren.
Thank you, Alicia. I think there's a couple of points that I saw, questions that I wanted to ask. Is as we're going into the roles of treatment process scientist, it does sound very technical in its name. I mean, do you have to come from a science background, for example, to go into that kind of post after you've completed a program like the one that you did?
No, absolutely not. So I think whilst having a scientific background is useful in sort of the processes that you use, there's no technical expectations. So we had a member of our team had an art degree, and some other members of the team didn't have a degree. And we were all working at the same level, if anything above level to me. So I think a lot of what we do can be learned. And one of the great things about Severn Trent is I feel like everybody is always willing to really help you develop and learn the skills that you need to do your job. So yeah, no requirement for a STEM based degree for that.
That role, however, you know, there are a lot of roles in the business where you could go down as sort of that sort of laboratory route, for example, can't you, as well? Yeah, in terms of the scientific knowledge that's needed. So there really is something there for everybody, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's really interesting. It's really brilliant that that the organisation has set up the kind of women in STEM and ops. You know, as a female, or as both of you, as women in the sort of an industry that is maybe larger percentage of males than females. What kind of things do is on the pipeline, for a group perspective to be able to, what are the key sort of messages that we're trying to get across?
So we've got 4 different work streams ongoing at the moment, and it kind of spans across the whole journey from attracting females into the roles, inspiring females to sort of develop further in those roles, and making sure that the environment is right for them to do that. So some of the things that we're working on is sort of addressing like PPE and the facilities that we have at our operational sites to make sure that they're sort of inclusive for all genders and a safe space for everyone. Other things that we're looking at is how we better attract women into the roles, and how we sort of get those inspirational leaders that we have in our STEM and ops roles to sort of inspire the next generation. So whether that's from sort of school or upwards, so that kind of thing, and really sort of highlighting our STEM and women in leadership events. So things like International Women's Day on the 8th of March and Women in Engineering Day, which is coming up in June or July. So loads of different things like that.
Brilliant. Right, so it's brilliant. We've got 2 members of the group sharing details of experiences today, and thank you very much indeed for doing so. So I'm now going to move on and just remind people of those kind of key dates for 2022 from a STEM focus, undergraduate and graduate program perspective. So, we've got 2 different engineering programs that are being launched this year. We have had engineering programs in the past, but we've reset the dial to focus very much on the development and not just doing well in post. So it's kind of that end goal and working toward chartered status in the relevant disciplines. Different types of engineering experiences there too, not just from program delivery or design, but that sort of water, and then also likes of carbon as well, which you've heard Alicia sort of mention there, reducing carbon. Process engineering for those that are from a chemical engineering background that are looking to go into this route. Then we have a specific program for graduate leavers and graduate entrants this year, and delighted that we've got you in industry opportunities within this space as well. And as you've heard from Alicia and her experiences as an individual that studied STEM background, going through the business leadership route, has seen different parts of the operational world and commercial sort of areas too, but with that focus on STEM, sustainability, environmental impacts that an organisation like ours has. Vacancies are open until the end of February, so there is time to complete those. Even if you're watching this video on the website and it might only be a few days before the 28th of Feb, there is still time to sort of submit that application form, which is relatively simple and straightforward to complete. There is some online assessments that I'm going to go through in a moment, but we'll be sort of including assessments which will be held virtually during March for our graduate and undergraduate roles. In April will be for apprenticeship routes, should you be watching this and considering the different apprenticeship programs that we have. Then following those, then we'll go through offers and onboarding before our graduates will start at the end of September. Undergraduates will start at the beginning of the month. Apprentices will be starting in August. So what does that selection process look like? I mentioned application form. There is an online assessment. So that's stage 2 there, which is cognitive tests. Then we ask candidates to sort of complete an exercise which will look at using numerical data and using sort of doing some complex analysis of data. There is a candidate preparation hub that we have, which can help you understand how to complete these exercises, but I'll go on to that in a few more details. So 4 key stages all the way through to offer: application form, first online assessment, then some cognitive tests, and then a final stage virtual assessment, which will consist of a strengths-based interview, which what the SBLE detail is there, and then a presentation. So the presentation is one-to-one, as is the strengths-based interview as well. When we inform candidates that completing presentations, then a lot of people naturally will say, how many people is that in front of? See it as a discussion and a piece of work that you prepared, bring it with you along the day. You're the one that's completed that, you're the one that's prepared it, and you should be confident, therefore, in being able to share the information with an individual from the team. Strengths-based interview, there's will be information to help you, not to give all the to give the game away by any stretch, but there'll be guidance provided as we go through to that latter stage, so that you understand what you're going to be completing. So the application form, there'll be personal data, biodata is included on here that we'll need from you. So your background and a couple of key questions. So your reasons for pursuing the program of choice, and also why Severn Trent. And I think if you go through career planning in sort of scale of 1 to 5, if you're at the point where it's kind of you're getting to 4/5 and you really have funneled down the reasons, okay, I've done some reading on the options that are available to me, I've done some analysis, or I've done some research on Severn Trent as an organisation and the kind of organisation that they are, and it feels a good fit for me, then you're kind of part way there. So after completing that application form, you'll complete some online assessments, which will include guidance to help get you started. So there'll be videos where you can hear more from our people and our values of what it means to them. And also there's a lot of video guidance as well, and different guidance pages of the assessment, so that you understand what you need to do before you start. And you can view that as many times as you like. But there is a series of tasks to complete in that online assessment, which will introduce you to our culture in a little bit more detail, and also introduce you to different areas of the business. So you will complete some work-based scenarios. It's not a technical exercise by any stretch, and we want you to just answer the questions naturally, indicating what you would do. But you will gain some knowledge about our bioresources business. You will gain some knowledge on green power as well. And you will also gain some knowledge on an area of the business called leakage. And that's not bursts in the road, that's unaccounted for loss of water across our network. So really interesting passages of information. So it will give you a really good flavour of just 3 parts of Severn Trent. Now also you'll get a candidate feedback report as well. You can use that for the latter stages assessment, but it's really important to remember that you're getting something back. So you're getting something that will highlight where your natural strengths are from the way that you've responded to those exercises. And secondly, and probably most importantly, there'll be some areas for development as well, based on the way that you've answered those exercises. And that's what these activities, I suppose that's what our programs are about, is helping develop you. So you can use that report with Severn Trent, maybe outside of Severn Trent as well, depending on success, of course. But then final assessment stage, we'll sort of bring you through in March, if it's graduates or undergraduates, and we'll run some candidate care sessions in the run up to those activities and dates. And that's because we know that pressing join, even on something like this today, can be quite daunting. So if you've got to that final stage, you've met our thresholds, we want to let you know a little bit more about what to expect so that you can feel confident on the day. And that is pretty much what we wanted to get through today. This slide I have just added in just to indicate what we offer. So there are inductions events, delighted that there'll be sort of back to face activities. So we'll bring everybody together to the academy for our graduates. It tends to be over a period of time, not all in sort of squeezed into 1 week, because there's a lot for you to learn. So it's over the opening couple of months. For our individuals joining 12-month programs, then we'll do it over a couple of days so that you can get up and running, build up your own networks as a peer group with others that are joining, and then go off onto your placements. Mentors are provided, also personal development plans as well as part of your training. So that's kind of outside of just the normal day-to-day objectives that you would have. So what are those key objectives to be able to make sure you're reaching your potential? And then I've highlighted the additional soft skill development training as part of your program as well. Okay, so that is the end of the slides. Thank you very much for viewing this spotlight session on women in operations. We hope you found it useful in your careers research. You can, of course, watch this again, and best of luck with your applications.